Hey guys, it's Blazescribe back with more Genshin Impact. In today's video, I want to talk about the Starglitter characters available in the shop. It's taking me a while to do this because I wasn't expecting the other character featured to be Barbara, but I was expecting it to be Kaeya. I'm going to be discussing in details in terms of what Barbara's and Kaeya's constellations can do for you, and then ultimately you make the decision whether to spend the Starglitters on them or not. Now, it is no longer a secret in terms of how I feel about Barbara being in the bottom tier. But recently I have done some frame counting for all the 4-star characters currently available in the game. What I have found out is that funnily, Barbara and Kaeya are both sitting in the top 5 DPS values. At least that is the case for the basic attacks. Now, it doesn't mean that Barbara has the highest damage in terms of overall DPS because she has no other damage skills in her kit. But it does bring some kind of perspective. If you do bring a Barbara and she isn't your main DPS, she can at least do a massive vaporized burst damage support using her charge attack instead of just purely healing your team. In fact, without Razor's ultimate, here are the rankings. Number 1, Xiangling on Crescent Pike. Number 2, Kaeya. Number 3, Barbara. Number 4, Razor. Number 5, Lisa. As a side note, in case you're interested in my methodology, I have recorded them using at least the strings twice, so it is a rotation. I'm not sure how accurate the frame counting is. I just counted the frames until the last damage numbers pop up, and if it is a flawed way of counting the frames, I do apologize, but everybody is subject to the same methodology. But anyway, if you're currently surprised, I was as surprised as you because Kaeya and Barbara both rank higher than Razor's best auto DPS rotation. Do take this with a grain of salt because the thing about Barbara is that she has nothing else in her kit that does damage to the enemies, while Razor still has his ultimate that will out DPS even Xiangling on Crescent Pike. Nevertheless, I am not a big fan of Barbara, but for those of you who are keen on her, let's discuss some of the constellations and what they mean to you if you do get them. Okay, so for Barbara's first constellation, Barbara regenerates energy every 10 seconds. This is good for any Barbara. Getting you to ultimate more often as DPS Barbara means that you get to do more iframes, which allows you to survive better. As support Barbara, getting you to ult more means that you can do burst heals more often. The second constellation reduces the cooldown of her E skill and you get some hydro damage buff while the skill is active. It is good for both DPS and support Barbara. For support Barbara, it means you can cast the aura more often and thus heal better. This skill is really good if you have other hydro units to buff such as Mona, Xingqiu and Child. As DPS Barbara, this will also help you get bigger damage on your own attacks, so that's a good option too. The third and fifth constellations are only relevant to support Barbara as they increase the healing potency of her E and Q skills. And to be honest, she already provides enough healing as support Barbara without going deep into the constellations. These are probably the least important constellations for Barbara, but you do need to get them if you're after the 4th or the 6th constellations. As you can see, the 4th constellation generates even more energy when Barbara does her charge attack. This is a constellation that rewards Barbara for being out in the field, i.e. DPS Barbara. It means that she can act as a battery for the rest of the team better, but if you are a support, this one doesn't do much. Now, the last constellation is of course the biggest change to Barbara. This actually allows you to sort of carry on with some of the mistakes you've made when you're doing the Abyss. You can't actually revive your characters by eating food, so having a Barbara around is one of the 2 ways you can do this. The other being Chi-Chi stowed at Constellation 6, an option realistically only for whales. Okay, so here's the deal with Barbara. For endgame content, she is usable all the way to floor 11 of Spiral Abyss, and on floor 12, she normally does more harm than good because activating her aura while you are in condensed ice means that you will get frozen. I have seen people clear Abyss 12 using Barbara, but believe you me when I say that bringing Barbara around is actually an uphill battle. It's possible that her E aura causes you to freeze and net you an instant death instead of healing you, but the 6th constellation allows you to get away with this once, which to me is just, then ideally you don't bring Barbara in the first place. The thing to note is that you can actually just leave your game on past the 15-minute mark, so it means that you can actually afford to die again in every chamber of the Abyss. So okay, what I'm saying is if you have no choice but to bring Barbara to Abyss, maybe the last constellation is exactly the constellation you'll need to clear Abyss 12 just to avoid getting insane. Anyway, based on this review of what Barbara's constellations can do to you, and the fact that miHoYo has given us a few copies of Barbara already, it means realistically people are getting at least a second constellation for Barbara, and if you are definitely pairing her with Xingqiu and Child, it is a good damage buff for them. My personal approach though is to bring a healer that doesn't increase the chance of you dying in the first place. Alright, enough on Barbara, let's talk about Kaeya. Kaeya's second constellation is huge. There is a mistranslation by miHoYo there. You don't actually have to deal the killing blow to get the benefits from the constellation. What the constellation allows you to do is to have Kaeya's ultimate last the entirety of its cooldown duration. It means that it basically allows you to have 100% uptime on the ultimate ability. This is huge for both DPS and support Kaeya. Already Kaeya is the best character to apply cryo, and this constellation secures his place as the king. The biggest problem is the fact that Kaeya has never been in the rate up banner, so it means that the second constellation is still not reachable by most people. Well, in that case, let's take a look at the first constellation. The first constellation is actually really good if you're planning to play Kaeya as DPS Kaeya, which is viable based on the values that I have found. Having a better crit rate allows you to build crit damage instead. Now, having said all that, what should you do? Okay, if you're free to play and you struggle to pull enough Starglitter to get a character every month, save it. It's probably much better to get a new character like Bennett last month than to upgrade to Kaeya's first or second constellation. If you're free to play and you plan to use Kaeya as DPS, then spend it on Kaeya. But if you can get a new character every month based on the wishes that you pull, then I do recommend getting Kaeya closer to his second constellation, especially if you play Razor. Bear in mind that Kaeya is still the best person to apply cryo in the game unless Chong is usable. Lastly, if you feel like if you don't want to waste it just for Constellation 1 Kaeya, then wait until the end of the month and see if you have managed to pull a Kaeya for a definite Constellation 2. That's it from me again. If you find this video useful, please leave a like and subscribe for more Genshin Impact. Have a great one, guys.